What's up, guys? Today we're getting out of here and going to Key West. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Mom Panda here. I'm at O'Hare International Airport, just about to head onto a flight to Key West. It's a place I've never been before. I'm excited to check it out. Now, the real reason that I've never gone to Key West, Florida is because I've gone to Florida before and I just assumed Key West was going to feel like every other place that I've been to in Florida. Now, Key West is the last key or last island in the chain of keys that are off Florida, and I will tell you what, it definitely feels like an island. Even though it is connected by a highway to the rest of Florida, it doesn't feel like Florida at all. It feels like you're in an island in the Caribbean, so that's really, really cool about it. And since it's on a highway, you can drive it from Miami. However, because I was in Chicago and wanted to get there as quickly as possible, I went ahead and booked a flight directly from Chicago to Key West, Florida. Now, I actually upgraded to first class just to get the full vacation experience. While they didn't serve the full first class meals because of kind of watered down service these days on airplanes, I did get a little sandwich that looked a little dilapidated, but was definitely tasty on the 3-hour or so flight there. They also offered little snack boxes, so you could probably find something that you liked. It was pretty cool to see the blue ocean waters after being cooped up in the Midwest for a long time. Until those renovations and expansions happen, after you land, you deplane on the tarmac. So the planes just sit there, and then you actually walk into the very, very small airport building. It's actually kind of cool because you can see some private jets too. Now, the whole area is called the Conch Republic, even though it is spelled conch, and that is after the famous shellfish. We're here. For my first day, I chose the Pier House Resort and Spa because it was located at 1 Duval Street. Now, Duval Street is a famous tourist street where there are a lot of bars and stores, and this seemed to put me right in the middle of the action. The Pier House Resort actually looked like it was really nice as well. You can definitely find prices in different places that will probably fit your budget. The Pier House is a little bit more expensive, but they have rooms that range from lanai views to ocean views. Now, the rooms that have the lanai views with these little porches actually look into the central courtyard area that have a lot of beautiful plants, so it can be a little relaxing. Now, the problem with this is that it's also the area that you walk through. So if you do want to sit on your porch and just kind of be isolated from other people, you're probably going to see some foot traffic kind of walking through the hotel there. But the whole courtyard is really, really nice with some water features and wildlife. As you walk through the courtyard, you'll actually get to the restaurant area where there is a covered outdoor bar right next to the private beach. Now, live music was playing most of the time, and that's actually a Key West thing. For a lot of restaurants and bars, they tend to have a lot of live performers, which is really nice. Now, 1 Duval Street is their address, but 1 Duval is actually the name of their main restaurant. Now, I chose this place because of this particular room. Because it's called the Pier House, they've actually built a number of suites on the pier itself that stick right out into the ocean, and so I thought it would give me that tropical ocean experience, and I was absolutely right. There are about 6 pier suites that all have these small balconies with these glass infinity railings, so you get to just experience the ocean. The dockside suite. The suites are decently large, but the balconies aren't that big, but they are perfect for having a couple people just sit out and relax. They are also covered, so you don't get the sun directly on you, so they're a great place to spend some time, especially during the day if you want to just take a day and have a private afternoon to yourself without necessarily being beaten on the sun and just taking the sights and the scenery. You can do that right from your hotel room, which is a really awesome feature of the hotel. Now, downstairs, there is a pier that is open to the rest of the hotel guests. You can walk out there and maybe even see the occasional iguana. There is also a pool at the hotel, which was also nice. I definitely spent an afternoon there. It wasn't that busy. And the nice thing about hotels that tend to be a little bit more pricey, they're usually pretty quiet. There aren't as many families as there are at some of the other hotels. Now, the other big reason that I booked this hotel is that it has a private beach. A couple of them do. The Astoria Hotel down on the south end of the island also has one, but this is a fairly small beach. And the reason that that's important is that there aren't actually that many beaches in Key West, and so this actually has a little floating platform that you can swim out to. I also saw that they have little floating chairs that you can take out into the water too, that they make available to the guests. So it's really nice to have your own little private beach and ocean area as a guest of the hotel. Now, 1 Duval Street is a hotel restaurant, and I actually frequented that for breakfast because it was nice and easy to wake up and grab some food there. They had a number of different menu items, including fish tacos and sliders. One morning I got more traditional food, like an omelet with hash browns and some fruit. But another time I actually got their breakfast sandwich, which was eggs and meat and toast, and was also really delicious. Now, one of the things that I discovered in Key West was Cuban coffee, and so I would walk over to Mallory Square in the mornings, going past the roosters that you will see all over the island. They are a protected animal, so don't harass the roosters, but I would grab a Cuban coffee. Cuban coffee just tends to be a very strong dark roast and is really delicious and will definitely get you going in the morning. Another way to get going and feeling relaxed is to go to the Pier House Resort Spa. So I booked myself a session for a nice hour-long massage, which was just a nice way to make sure that I was loose and limber for my vacation. Now, they do a nice job at the spa too, so you can get other spa treatments, but it's a great place to relax. Now, if you're like me, one of my suggestions is to take the conch train tour around the island because it's a great way to get an introduction into the island and its history and to see some of the sites that you might want to come back and see later. Now, the conch train was only about $20 a person. It's a jump on, jump off train. So if you see something that you like, at the next stop, you can jump off, check out the area around there, and then jump back on the train. Now, I also noticed that the train locomotives are actually heavily disguised Jeep Wranglers.
All right, I just want to make sure everyone's on the right tour train. This tour will be in Spanish. Just kidding. Right side corner, down a little.
They will point out some of the most famous sites in Key West, including Ernest Hemingway's house as well as the Audubon house. A lot of these places are now museums, so you can jump off, get in line to go and see some of these famous locations. Your tour guide will tell you all sorts of interesting facts about the island and give you some tips for enjoying your time. They will often tell you, for example, it's common to take a picture with the southernmost point landmark here on the island, but there is a very long line to get in line to take a picture with that landmark there. There's also some beaches on the south side of the island. This is also a nice place to jump off if you want, but I was planning on going there a little later in the week and share with you some stories and footage from there later. Now, one of the places that everyone recommended that I eat at was a place called Blue Heaven. It's a little restaurant, a little off the beaten path, but they had absolutely delicious food. I tried their salad, I tried their grilled shrimp, I actually even had the pork tenderloin, which was absolutely delicious as well. Now, after dinner, if you're looking for something to do, you can absolutely go to Mallory Square, which is the pier where the cruise ships dock, and they always have a little bit of a sunset festival there. People get together, there are street performers and vendors. There are a lot of people there, and it's usually a great place to wind down after a long day, see the rest of the boats come in before the darkness falls, and take in a very nice sunset. Of course, if you have your dockside suite, that's also a great place to wind down, chill out, and even have a drink in the comfort of your own little hotel room. Now, one of my favorite little eateries is the Two Friends Patio Diner across the street from the Pier House Hotel. It's got a little outdoor seating, and it is a great place to get breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The food there is fantastic, and the portions are healthy. Now, one of my favorite breakfasts there was the seafood omelet. So if you love seafood, this omelet is just packed full of it and was absolutely delicious. Now, I'm also a big fan of Chicagoan and serial entrepreneur Marcus Lemonis, and he is one of the owners of the Key West Key Lime Pie Company, so I had to go there and try that out. You can actually order their key lime pies in many of the restaurants in that area, and obviously key limes make Key West kind of famous, but they have all sorts of decadent treats there, from a slice of key lime pie on a stick that's dipped in chocolate, or individual sized key lime pies, which are absolutely delicious, to limeade drinks, which were fantastic and refreshing on a hot day. Now, one of the things that you will see all over Key West are these little electric cars. I think they are made by a company called Gem, but they are a great way to get around the island. So one day I rented one from Hydro Thunder so that I could see some of the island on my own time and actually go to one of the beaches on the south side of the island. So I picked one up. They run about $130 for a half a day, and they are pretty convenient to be able to park easily, jump in and jump out of. Now, one of the things that I wanted to mention about the beaches in Key West is that they are not natural. Key West actually ships in the sand from other areas in the Caribbean because they don't have the wave action because of the big coral reefs that surround the island. Now, what that means is that even though there is sand on the beaches, it's always being washed out to the ocean. And so one of the things that you'll notice is that if you walk out from the beach into the ocean, you'll find that the sand suddenly stops and it's usually very rocky or corally. So this is actually a good beach to actually have water shoes to walk out into the water. But if you have a blanket, a good book, and beach gear that you bought on Amazon, it's a great place to chill out and relax for a few hours. And because the Two Friends Patio restaurant became one of my favorite places to go in Key West, I went there again for my afternoon lunch where I picked up some pasta. I also tried their seafood medley, which was absolutely jam-packed with scallops, shrimp, and mahi-mahi, and was absolutely delicious. You have to try that. That puts another day in the books and another evening to chill out on the patio. However, the following day, I had booked an excursion to do some snorkeling. But before heading out, I hit Island Dog Bar. Now, they have a bunch of bar food that you might expect, like fish tacos, which were very good, but they also have an island dog, which is a bacon-wrapped hot dog with banana peppers and mango salsa, which was also very good. Now that I was fueled up, I could just walk a few blocks over to the marina where I booked my excursion on Sebago, and they included a trip on a catamaran out to the coral reefs. Now, in this particular day, it was pretty windy, so the coral reefs on the ocean side were really murky and the waves were kind of high. So what they were going to do is take us into the Gulf side, where they have some smaller spot reefs that don't have quite the number of fish that you might see on the ocean side, but would have less wave action that day.
Happy hour going, head on back towards Key West. Have you guys back here right around 3:30. Sound good?
This excursion was about $60 a person, and I thought it's a really good value just for the boat ride and the snorkeling. Now, as you leave the marina, you can see some of these private ships out there, which are pretty big. So people have some money, or the financing must be just really, really cheap. I wonder if this guy is even saving for his retirement. Now, the ride out to the spot reef is only about 40 or 45 minutes, but it was nice and smooth sailing. There were a number of other boats heading out to the same place, so everyone kind of spaced themselves out to give everyone a wide berth. Now, on the boat, they give you all the gear that you need, including a snorkel, a life preserver, as well as a noodle, so it was a really pleasant experience. You don't have to worry about being a strong swimmer. Now, I will say that on this particular occasion, I did not see much in the way of sea life. In fact, I don't recall seeing any fish at all, although you could see the coral, and because of the high winds, I think there was a little turbidity in the water. But I tell you what, really the experience of just going out and getting into the ocean water and feeling the cool water on a hot day was really what this was all about. Actually, I didn't spend a lot of time in the water. They definitely gave everyone about an hour to just go ahead and swim around, but I came back to the boat after about 30 minutes and just sat and enjoyed a drink while I watched some of the other people finish up their snorkeling tour. Now, after they get everyone back on board, they head back to the marina, which is also a nice, pleasant cruise. And for a 3 or 4 hour total excursion, I actually thought that the $60 was a sweet value. It's a great way to see some of the sights as well as get in your snorkeling and spend an afternoon on a boat. So it doesn't get much better than that. As you arrive back to Key West, you actually pass Sunset Key, which is the island just off of the Pier Harbor Resort. And then as you pass that, I was able to see the Pier Harbor Resort and even the room I was staying in. An afternoon of snorkeling, though, can work up an appetite, so I headed down Duval Street to head to Origami Sushi Bar, where I picked up some Japanese food because it's one of my favorites. I had some chicken cutlets as well as some sushi and rolls. When I headed back up Duval Street, I went into the Walgreens to pick up some supplies. It's actually a converted movie theater, so it's a pretty interesting place to check out. Then I went to Matheson's, which is an ice cream cookie bar, and they had some cookies that were darn near the size of dinner plates. So I definitely had to buy one of those, patronize the local businesses. There is also a candy store nearby, and I do mean a candy store because all they have is candy and diabetes, but you could definitely find something to satisfy your sweet tooth there, including giant Rice Krispie treats. And then I usually like taking in the sunset and relaxing back at the hotel. Now, down over by Mallory Square, there's actually an aquarium. And while it's not very big, it's a fun place to go because I believe it is the oldest aquarium in America. So it's a pretty standard, traditional, older style aquarium. But since I was skunked out of seeing fish while I was snorkeling, this was a great place to actually see a lot of the different types of fish that they have around the Key West area. And like many of the older traditional aquariums, it's actually a fairly large building that has aquariums all around the perimeter. So you kind of walk around and you get to see a lot of different smaller aquariums. Now, sadly, this was my last day in Key West, so had to pack up and head back to the airport. And after you sit in the terminal, it is kind of nice to get one last taste of that Key West island air as you board your airplane and head back to your hometown. I'm disappointed that I didn't give Key West a try earlier. Even though it's a short flight and it's a domestic trip, it definitely feels like you are in a remote island village. So if you're looking for a accessible, tropical island vacation, I would highly recommend Key West, Florida. Peter Von Panda, out.
We can discover more and explore so much deeper. We can live better than ever face.